We'll close off spooky season with an entry that is leaning more towards the comedic side of horror, The Lost Boys. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. As I said, this is the final entry for this year's spooky season, which I have done for the first time. I will say I have enjoyed it very much. I do believe I will be continuing this next year as well with a fresh selection of films, both old and new. This time today we are exploring The Lost Boys, which is from 1987, and believe it or not, I have never seen the film before. Heard about it quite a lot. It's obviously in the pop culture, you know, it's well established, but I've never actually gotten around to see it. And when I did, I actually needed to watch it twice, because the first time I was taken aback because my idea of what the film was completely different. So if you're not familiar, like I wasn't, or I suppose before I tell you what the film is, I should tell you what I thought it would be. I thought it was, I knew it was very popular because we've got a lot of young people in it, but I still thought in my mind that this was a more dramatic entry. So I thought, you know, it was, while it was being very cool, etc., I thought that would also be a lot of drama at the centre of it, you know. Turns out I was completely wrong. This is very much a horror comedy, so I was just completely surprised by all the comedic elements in it. Not saying they're bad, I'm just saying I went in expecting something very, very different. So my first viewing was very confused in that sense, because like, okay, you know, is there going to be a turn here, or is it going to get more serious? No. And once, you know, like the film was finished, I saw, okay, they lean heavily into this comedy aspect, so I watched it again, you know, knowing that, and had a very different experience, of course, and just enjoyed the film a lot more because I wasn't, you know, trying to figure out which way they were going with the story. So to give some more background, I mean, I'm not a vampire film expert in that sense. I mean, I enjoy them very much, but it seems that this film, the idea behind it was to, and they say this in the extras that I watched, where they have some documentary pieces on there as well. They had the goal of making vampires sexy in that sense. You know, it wasn't this Nosferatu type, you know, they're just out to kill you and it's all spooky and all these things with ancient beings that have lived for hundreds of years, etc. Instead, we've got basically a bunch of young guys and girls, well, one girl actually only, who, as the name implies, the Lost Boys, you know, they're kind of like Peter Pan, they don't want to grow up. So they feel that the ideal time to be alive is when you're just, you know, you've just turned adult and you're just out there partying every day. And that's all you want from life, you know, and this is this is basically what they were trying to achieve with this story. So we are focused actually on two brothers who moved to this town in California. I think Santa Cruz is the name. It's I think it's even made up. I think it's not even real. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It looks like your typical sort of beach town, you know, where you would enjoy going to parties a lot, you know. And the older brother, he sees this local group. He doesn't know, of course, that they are vampires, but he's immediately taken by the one woman in the group, you know, immediately you know, has eyes for her. And the vampires, they use this to entice him and get him into the group, and they turn him into a vampire as well. And so at the start, he doesn't know what's going on, you know, he's starting to develop all these, I'll call them symptoms, I suppose, or new abilities as well, you could say, you know, he doesn't know what's going on. He does eventually learn that he is a vampire, but yeah, and he's struggling with that, which is, you know, more or less what I thought the film would actually be focused on, you know, have a more dramatic touch to it. But then we have the younger brother, who is a comic book fan. He meets two guys at a local comic shop who are self-proclaimed vampire hunters, you know. And this is when I watched it the first time, I was like, haha, you know, this is a kind of joke. No, this is actually this is actually what happens. So the three of them, they want to help his brother while at the same time trying to rid the town of this vampire infestation. And that is basically what the story is. So we're watching these young kids trying to take out this group of vampires. While all the same time the older brother, he and the woman in the group who hasn't turned full vampire yet, because to do that they have to kill someone, and they both haven't done this yet. So they are both trying to, you know, they're struggling with this new identity, and yeah, and they eventually also fall for each other. And that is pretty much the whole story. I mean, there's nothing special here. There's nothing, you know, like I say, more deeply seated, which I had hoped for, which I expected. But once you are aware of this, I'm not saying that it's a bad film because of that. No, I'm just saying my expectations were completely different. And it's absolutely fine, because once you're aware of this and you go into expecting just full-on entertainment, sometimes really big silliness and all that, it's a really fun ride, I will admit. I mean, you've got great music, I will say, 80s music. I mean, the film even starts, I mean, not exactly at the start, but in one of the starting scenes, we're on the beach. I mean, I even downloaded the song. I'll put the title in here, Tim Capello, if I've got the name right, and just amazing sax music, and I'm a sucker for that. Whenever it's in David Bowie's music, I love that as well. And yeah, just a really great opening, I felt, and that's generally what the film was going for. So it wants to be basically an entertaining, sexy film, as it were. And I must say, they have chosen probably the perfect person for this. The director was Joel Schumacher, who is obviously infamous for his two Batman films that he did, which were Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and everyone who focuses on them always talks about the bat nipples because the bat suit. If you didn't know this, but he was the one that introduced nipples to the bat suit, and everyone got really hung up on it. I don't know, I loved those films as a kid because that's when they came out. You know, I was young, so I love them to this day. I mean, obviously they're bad, but I still like them quite a lot, I will say. But you know, this, even to this day, isn't an issue for me. I don't know why does it matter whether the suit has nipples or not? It's just such a non-issue to me. Anyway, perfect guy for this, because his, you know, just his grip on such themes, etc., absolutely perfect. You know, when you listen to him talk about the film, it's like, yeah, of course they chose him, because he really is perfect. He really got what this story was trying to portray, and he really leaned into that heavily. And you've got an entertaining cast as well. I mean, you've got Kiefer Sutherland as the head vampire, you know, and he's trying to be scary in that sense. He probably brings the most horror into this film, because I mean, the makeup is done very well, and they've got contact lenses that look cool too. So I really enjoyed those parts. You've got Alex Winter, for those who are big Bill and Ted fans. He's in this. He's one of the vampires as well. So yeah, it is rather entertaining. Like I say, the comedy is good. It is quite fun. It's quite silly at times, but it is fun watching these young kids, you know, going after the vampires and making silly jokes and all sorts of digs at each other. And the two brothers, you know, even after it's apparent that the older one's a vampire, the banter between the two is also very entertaining, I do feel. So yeah, I liked it quite a lot. Like I say, it's got cool music. The direction is cool. I like the humour in it. It doesn't have much horror in it, but it really is not trying to be a horror film. It's just the setup that we have, you know, and that's how we go into the story. But it's definitely more of a comedic thing. So I thought, you know, for the end of it, I mean, last week we had a very, very bonkers film with Malignant, but bonkers in the sort of over-the-top sense of what horror is and what kind of stories they tell. Now I thought we'll close out with a more funny, you know, entry into the genre, because if you're preparing for a Halloween party, that is probably the kind of film that you would actually also want for a group of people, you know, just entertaining. And so it's got a big legacy. I mean, this is, like I say, I mean, Joel Schumacher, most people talk about his Batman films, but, you know, they should not forget that he made The Lost Boys, which is a really cool film. And I can see that its legacy is in part that, you know, people thought about vampires differently. You know, it doesn't always need to be these brooding Draculas of the world, you know, who just do horrific things, etc. It could just be a group of young people who are like, yeah, let's party forever, because that's what life should be about. It does amaze me that Warner Brothers, you know, read this, saw this on paper and was like, yes, let's greenlight it. So I will say, fair play to them, you know, that they did. And it worked out well, because I saw that even in its initial run at the box office, it was definitely a success. It cost $8.5 million, I believe, and raked in about $32 million. So it was definitely a win for the studio. And as I said, I mean, it is a cult film nowadays. Even I had heard a lot about it, you know, just the title was mentioned in various places on the internet that I saw, you know, videos of people discussing films for multiple reasons. So, you know, I am sure it is still making them money. And they never made a sequel. They were always talking about it, you know, how they could do that, etc. And I believe even nowadays they're still trying to get some project connected to it off the ground. I don't know any details, but I just saw that during my research that, you know, it's being talked about. So even to this day, it's still popular. So hats off to Joe Schumacher and the whole gang there. They definitely made a really, really fun film. So, and that is why I would recommend you to see it if you want a funny film on Halloween. You know, and if you like the 80s and 80s music and style and feeling and that, you know, it is great. It really kind of makes you feel a bit nostalgic as well, this film, for those kind of things. That will be all from me today. I hope you enjoyed not only this review, but, you know, just the whole spooky season that I did for October this year. Let me know down in the comments, you know, anything about either of them, either the film or, you know, the genre itself, or how you know, how you felt my selection was. If you've got other recommendations, of course, please share them below. I mean, I won't wait till October to watch horror films again, of course not. It's just there's a bit of a focus here now. Yeah, whenever I come across the next horror film, I'll definitely talk about it if it's worthwhile talking about. But if you like this video, if you enjoyed it, then please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. As I said, you know, down in the comments, just tell me anything you would like to. We'll get back to other films right now. I feel that over the next week I've got some free time in my schedule. I'll try, I can't promise it, but I'll try to maybe get out additional videos, maybe 1 or 2 over the course of the next few weeks, you know, somewhere in the middle of the week or so, because there's just, I've collected so many other things that I've been watching over this past month, you know, that are not horror related, and I really want to talk about them. So look forward to that. I hope I'll be able to manage to, you know, use my schedule, my free schedule, and, you know, effectively do more of these videos. But I'll still thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next review video on Flying Wiener. Take care.